Hello, everybody. Welcome to Zentangle Explore. I am so excited that you have come to draw with me. So this is a class where we draw one Zentangle pattern and we explore it really slowly. On little pieces of paper you can hold in the palm of your hand. It could be a little bit bigger too if you would like. And a pen, any pen that you have, you can just use a pen from Staples or some office store. You can use a 01 Micron. You could draw with a crayon or a highlighter or a marker, whatever you have on hand. The key is that if you can hold a pen and draw a line, then you can do this class. So we're going to begin with a brief meditation where we just settle in and breathe for a few minutes before it allows us to slow down and to become centered and present and let everything else go that what has come before. And this class is all about exploring in your very own way, not exactly what I'm doing. So the idea is that I teach you the pattern in the beginning, and then you go off and explore it using the elements of the pattern and adding whatever else you want to add. So it's very free form and very experimental and super fun. All right, so it's nice and comfortable. Get nice and comfortable in your seats wherever you are. And you can close your eyes if you'd like. I'm going to close mine. And we're just going to breathe. Just notice, begin by noticing where you are in your space, what parts of you are touching the floor or the chair or the couch or the feet on the floor if you're standing. Perhaps you're lying down. However it is that you are positioned, just notice those connection points, not to change them, but just with gentle awareness. And just allow those connection points to become more solid. Truly give yourself permission to relax and allow the chair, the seat, the floor, the house, the foundation, the earth to hold you, knowing that you are completely safe in this moment. There's no danger of you falling. Your chair will hold you. The floor will hold you. The earth will hold you. And just find your breath. Say hello, breath. Maybe you're inhaling. Maybe you're exhaling. Perhaps there's a little stop that you notice if you bring your awareness to it. Little baby, little rest on the top of the inhale and the bottom of the exhale. Breathing is a beautiful, simple cycle. Repeats from the moment we're born to the moment we pass to something else, something more. Just allow your breath to be exactly as it is. Just becoming aware of it and witnessing it, noticing it has an effect on it. But it doesn't need to be a forceful effect. It doesn't have to be your brain that's telling you how to breathe. It can just be you witnessing almost from outside the experience, although recognizing that you are, in fact, inside the experience because you can feel that breath in your body. And maybe start to notice where you can feel that breath in your body, your belly or your chest, perhaps in your back, your throat, edge of your nostrils, your lungs. Maybe your elbows or your arms move with the inhale and the exhale. Everything's connected. The breath comes in, the body expands to allow for the breath. Breath goes out, and the body contracts to move the breath. And all the while, we're safely held by the surface that we are resting upon. So if you'd like to, I invite you to take a big inhale with me and a nice sighing exhale. Oh, letting all your thoughts go, coming 100% into this space that we are in together in the cyber world. Nice big inhale and exhale. Oh, resting fully and completely on the surface that you're resting upon, knowing that your breath will continue whether you notice it or not. But noticing it is so very lovely. Nice big inhale and a nice exhale. Ooh. When you're ready, you can open your eyes and know that whatever you create today and in your life is going to be perfect exactly as it is. Okay, thank you so much for breathing with me. I love doing that before becoming creative. And so I'm going to switch my camera. Before I do that, I just invite you to continue to allow that breath to be in your awareness as you draw this very fun pattern today. All right, I'm going to change my camera and we will draw. Okay, so I have a couple pieces of paper. I have this kind of little wonky shaped paper and these little ones and a bit of a larger one. You can use whatever you'd like. If you would like to use a really large piece of paper, that is completely appropriate as well. I like to use watercolor paper because I've been adding color to mine after class. And it's always nice if you're going to add color or something that's wet, it's nice to use a permanent pen. But if you don't have a permanent pen, you can also play around with one that bleeds. This one is just like an office pen and it bleeds, but has a nice thick line. So I like it. And if you're okay with the bleeding, then hey, go for it. All right, so let's start here. So this is a very simple pattern. It is called actually For Fun by Mina Hsiao. She was a certified Zentangle teacher. And it's really simple and therefore really, really adaptable. And we usually just use a part of our paper. I'm going to kind of go and use the entire thing this time. And you don't have to, though. You could use a part of it. Let's see. Let's just see what happens. So I am going to start noticing my breath. And I'm going to start with this kind of large, and we want it to be large, amorphous, blobby shape. Comes back to the middle. And we're just going to continue to draw these amorphous blobby shapes. Think about like stones in a walkway. And we're going to leave this beautiful little aura space here. And aura is just a line that mimics what came before. And so we're creating this negative space here that goes between. And we're doing it just really slowly. What I love about
drawing these amorphous shapes is that it gets us out of our head about what it has to look like. Because the first shape that you put down is going to give you some direction about the other shapes that are going around it or near it. And these shapes can be anything you want them to be. Just really allow your hand to soften on your pen. Allow your pen to kind of find its way. Without all that much direction from you, just an awareness of your breath in your body and a softness to your hand, and slow down. I'm going to add just a couple more. There's more to this pattern than just this, and you can, move your tile around. It's really good, especially for this pattern, to move your tile. In Zentangle, there's no right side up or upside down. We draw from all four sides of the paper. Just kind of drawing these gentle puzzle pieces. And always in this class, we look at the elements. And so right now we have this amorphous shape and we have these negative spaces that are happening because of the way that we're putting these shapes together. So far, that's what we have. But I'm going to add another element now. So we can begin, you can really begin to play with what's happening. So within these shapes, we have a shape. And I'm going to color that shape in black, but you could, if you have colors, you could use purple or red or yellow, whatever color you want to use. It's really up to you. This is an exploratory class. And I'm going to add another shape here. So we're going to go through and add these shapes. And there's one more element to this. So far, we have these amorphous, kind of stone-like shapes. Now we have these filled in block shapes. Now that we have a couple in here, I'm going to add the last element, which is not an aura per se. So I want you to really recognize that. I'm going to start right on my black. I'm not going to start outside and put, although you could, once you learn the pattern, then you can always modify it. But just for the right now, let's just do it this way. So I'm going to start right on this black fell and then land back on the black fell. Start right on that black fell and land back on the black fell. Softening that hand, continuing to breathe, and drawing really slowly. And then once these start to fill in, it really begins to have a different look. And you can vary the shape and the size of any of these elements. You could make these stones jagged. You could make them smaller or larger. You could make these lines thicker in some places along the edge. You can make this little second line larger, or smaller or thicker. You can vary this in between negative space. Here it's relatively even, but you could really vary that and undulate that line. You could add a little bit of a hole or a space within this fill. And once you add that second line, you can play with the amount of fill that's in there. So you can actually make it a little bit smaller, change the shape. My fill isn't completely filled in black, and that gives it a little bit of a texture. So just play with it. Or if I decide that, okay, that's filled in enough, so now I'll just add another line there. It's all about exploring and playing. And giving yourself permission to do something new. And slowing down, even in the coloring in of these little blobby shapes. And knowing that when you first do this for the very first time, you're just doing it for the very first time. Sometimes when we sit down to draw, we expect our hand and our brain to coordinate perfectly. Say, well, I'm here, I'm drawing, so I ought to be able to draw what I want to draw. Sometimes it takes a little time. Sometimes we come to the page with a little bit of a wiggle in our line, or maybe some judgments in our brain about what's showing up. And just like when you exercise, you don't just start running the marathon, train for it, and you warm up beforehand and you make sure you have the right clothes for the weather, and you do all these things. So I think sometimes people think that drawing is so simple that it should just be super easy. Put pen to paper and then things show up the way I want them to. That's not generally how it works. So give yourself some grace in this process of finding this pattern, finding what you like about this pattern, discarding what you do not like, and following any inclination you have to play with the elements of this pattern. Because this class is called Zentangle Explore for a reason. It really is all about exploring in whatever way speaks to you. This isn't about my exploration, although I'm giving you an example of that. I know quite a few of you will be watching this on the replay, and I love that you watch it on the replay. It makes me so happy. People are tuning in and tuning into their own bodies and their breath and their creative abilities in their own time all over the world. And that we have the ability to do that with and really connect together in this space just by having a piece of paper and our breath and a pen, and giving ourselves permission. Take the time to do this gentle exploration. So if you have any what if questions in your mind, like, well, she's doing it this way, but I mean, I really wonder, what if I made these really big? Or what if I tried to match up these dark blurbs one side to the other? What would that look like? Or what if I changed the blurbs and made them, I don't know, rectangles or triangles or more circular? What would happen? What would if I happen if I added more than one of these little extra lines? What if I added two or three of those little extra lines? What might that look like? What if I made the fill striped or polka dotted? Maybe I would like it, maybe I wouldn't. But I have a black pen or whatever color pen you're using. And if you don't like it, you can change it. There's no erasing in Zentangle, and there's no erasing in this class either. And the reason is because if you're exploring and you start erasing, then you're kind of erasing the evidence of your exploration. And that just does not sound fun at all. So we work on these little pieces of paper, can make many, many, many of them, try many, many, many things. And allowing your exploration to just be your exploration. Doesn't have to win a museum award. Although maybe it could. But what an exploration does is gives us information, one, about what we like and what we don't like. It gives us information about our preferences. Like, oh, I really noticed that I really like to draw in this small way. Well, what if I expanded it and made it so much bigger? It gives us information about the pen and the paper that we're using, and whether we enjoy the feel of the pen and the paper together. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. It gives us information about how free we feel within the exploration. If you're feeling nervous or upset or anxious about this, sometimes people feel very anxious drawing lines on paper, and that's okay. Just ask yourself about what that's about. What is that about? Is it reminding you of a time before when you drew when you were small? Maybe somebody criticized your artwork. That's happened to many of my students and even myself. But those are old stories, and they're not stories about who you are now. And they're likely not even stories about who you were then. They're just stories about whoever it is that's throwing that judgment at you. It's their story, it's not your story. We just take those stories on because we're conditioned to do so. This is a very safe space, so safe. We're so, so safe drawing these lines, whatever lines you're drawing. We're so safe breathing. So safe exploring whatever it is you're exploring. And I don't expect that because it's an exploration. I don't expect it to look anything like really what I'm doing. This class is actually held live. And so every one of these videos has real live people with real life explorations happening in real life time. And they send me those explorations and we share at the end of class. And it's just so delightful every time because when I think that I've explored to the extent that I can, someone is always creating something new. And when I teach my Zentangle classes, teach what I call tile number one, which is an introductory tile. And it's teaching different drawing concepts but simple things, very simple things. And I've taught this class well over 100 times now, and almost every single time somebody will draw something new that I've never seen before. And it always astounds me. We all have the same, relatively the same tools, a pen and our hand and our eye and our brain and the page. And yet, just like with musical notes or letters in an alphabet, no matter what language you're talking about, there's really an infinite number of combinations of those things. And even with numbers, infinite number of combinations. There's an infinite number of lines that you can draw. And so why waste your time judging the lines that come out of you? When in fact, we could be sitting in this miraculous state of awe, saying, I've been drawing these lines for over and over and over again, and oh my gosh, I drew one in a way I never would have expected and I've never seen before. And that is the beauty of exploration. Because if we tried to force our lines to be something else, we would just end up drawing the same lines over and over and over again. And that's totally fine if you love drawing those lines. But we're on this earth for quite a bit of while, so for me, that would be getting just a touch boring. What I love about drawing a pattern like this is because it really lends itself to adding watercolor or marker, because it's got this beautiful running lane or stream that goes through it. It's so super delightful. And you can use this pattern and not use organic shapes, but use squares or rectangles or triangles or a combination of squares and rectangles and triangles. You could use ovals, pretty much anything that you can imagine. You can change this and shift it and play with it. In whatever way your inner imagination is asking you to. I know I've said this before in this class, but maybe you're new to this class and you haven't heard it before, so I'm going to share that whenever I get what I think is a crazy idea, I usually spend at least some time resisting it, just for fun. Ultimately, the idea grows stronger and stronger, and I will listen to that idea and say, all right, fine, this sounds really ridiculous and kind of dumb, but I'll try it anyway. And what happens is really miraculous. Almost always I say, oh my gosh, that is like way cool. I never thought I would like that, but I do, and I want to do more of it. And then sometimes if I don't like it completely, what happens is it opens me up to a new way of thinking about what I was doing that I would not necessarily have gotten to had I not allowed that idea to take shape and form. And so even though I didn't like totally love it, it brought me new information because it was a new experience. And that new experience is so valuable. So in the beginning of this class, I usually just kind of alter one thing very slowly at a time. It takes a little while for me, and you might be able to just dive right into the deep end and start changing everything. Usually I kind of play with the pattern and really just allow it to be playful and say, well, what are the elements? What is it about them? What are they? Do they have a form and a function? And then can I change one of those elements? And if so, which one? And maybe you want to change a lot of them and you have a lot of ideas, and then you can write them down on a little piece of scratch paper next to your drawing space. Say, okay, ideas, I see you. I know that I have this 40 minutes or hour, whatever it is right now to draw, but there's all next week. I could explore one of these ideas a day. Just see what happens. And so your focus in this exercise can be on so many different things. You could focus on the shape of this negative space. You could focus on the shape of these shapes that's creating the negative space. You could focus on the shape that goes within the shape, that gets colored in dark black. You could focus on the line that pseudo auras or moves around the darker shape that you've created. All of those elements are yours to play with. And just notice as you're drawing if you're defaulting to something that you usually default to. I default to this crescent shape pattern because of I really love a Zentangle pattern called Crescent Moon. So I tend to go there quite a bit. That's totally fine. If I really love drawing crescents, then continue drawing crescents. But it's really nice to become aware of what you enjoy drawing and what you kind of default to drawing. Because when you become aware of something, then you have the opportunity to change it. When we just do things habitually, we don't pay attention to the choices that we're making, and you can't change what you don't see. And so allowing yourself to see without judgment, there's no judgment, we're just putting ink on paper. You allow yourself to see it, and it gives you the power to change it because you created it. If you created it, you can change it. And even just recognizing that that's true is really kind of revolutionary. We get conditioned into thinking that we have to do things certain ways because, well, everyone else does it that way. That's how I was taught to do it. Some adult somewhere told me that was the way to do it. That's another reason why I love this class so much, because it helps me break out of my preconceived notions about what is Zentangle, what is a Zentangle pattern, what is drawing, what is play. Play is not actually something that comes very easily to me because I conditioned myself to be a good little rule follower, coloring within the lines of life. And so as an adult, I'm actually remembering how to play from when I was a kid, and it came very easily to me, and exploring what play is and giving myself permission to spend time exploring what play is and what it means for me. And you can do that too. Nice slow lines. Just breathing. I'm drawing slow lines. allowing those lines to change, being surprised by what happens, giving yourself space to allow for something new and different and delightful. Just because there are 3 or 4 elements to each of, these patterns, doesn't mean that you have to keep all the elements. Sometimes I'm drawing a Zentangle pattern or any pattern, and let's say there's 6 steps. Sometimes I'll get to step number 4 and say, well, I kind of like it this way. I don't want to add that last thing. Or you get to step 2 and say, well, this is really amazing just the way it is. And so if you find any part of this pattern or any pattern that you're drawing to be just super delightful, and maybe you want to get to step 2 and then explore just those elements and leave steps 3 and 4. Maybe you want to take steps 3 and 4 and take them so-called off-road, take them outside of the inside of the space they were in. I love taking band tangles and turning them into free form, or grid tangles. Actually works for both, but taking a grid tangle, like a tic-tac-toe board tangle, and liberating just one of those squares or 5 of those squares, and taking them out of the grid and just letting them be a square all by themselves, floating freely in the world. It's super fun. Or to take them and turn them into a band tangle, lining them all up. So many ways to play. Really, really slowly. Just notice so much more when I really am mindful about keeping the process slow. And it doesn't stop me from getting things done. The lines still pile up on the page. way back when the world was unknown to the Europeans or whatever civilizations were here. There was all kinds of exploring. Now we do so much less of that because everything is so known and there's so much technology in the world. Each one of us is an explorer. And this is a really, really fun way to explore. And so safe. Lines on paper. Just a little ink on the page. Okay, this is just the beginning, but I'm excited to continue this one. This is what I have done so far. Explorations of this pattern. Hello, welcome back. Come back, camera. It is so lovely to have drawn with you. There it is in focus. I hope you enjoyed that exploration, and I hope that you continue to explore this pattern throughout the week. And if you'd like to see more videos of different patterns, you can explore with me on the entire playlist that I have on my YouTube channel. And keep going, add color, do something crazy. And if you'd like to donate to this effort, paypal.me/eternalpossibility. And my website is eternalpossibility.com. All right, keep exploring, everybody. Bye.